So Jay here says, I'm curious how you think the economy is booming while your wife lost her job along with millions this year. No one wants to talk about that. Unemployment now stands at 4.3%, but the amazing economy. I understand that my wife losing her job is not indicative of the economy overall, which is why I'm able to differentiate the two. The economy is booming, and my wife and 26 other people lost their job because the man who owned the company was incompetent and didn't know how to run it, and drove it into the ground, once again, less than 3 years after he bought it. It was a company that was in business for 25 years. He came along and bought it and drove it into the ground in 3. So that's indicative of a bad economy because he's got his head up his ass? By the way, where do you get that millions of people have lost their job this year? Do you mind giving me the data on that? Because I'll show you some of my data. Hang on. July 2024 jobs report, 114,000 jobs added, a sharp slowdown from June. The July 2024 jobs report shows sign that the labor market is cooling down but remains stable. The U.S. labor market added 114,000 jobs in July, much lower than expected, and the 179,000 rise in June. Payroll gains were revised down in June to 27,000 to 179,000, and May by 2,000 to 216,000. July non-farm payroll gains bring the 3-month average employment gain to 170,000, slightly lower than previously reported. This highlights the restrictive Federal Reserve policy is cooling the pace of job growth. Unemployment rate. The unemployment rate ticked up to 4.3% in July from 4.1% in June, the highest level since October of 2021, signaling the labor market is continuing to cool. This should position the Fed to begin easing policy by September. The rise in unemployment was driven by a continued robust increase in the labor force, up 420,000, and an increase in the labor force participation rate for prime age workers to 84%, the highest level since 2001. The rise in prime age workers, i.e. 25 to 54 years old, suggests that the labor market is in better shape than the unemployment rate indicates, as during a recession, prime age workers typically become discouraged and leave the labor force. While the number of unemployed individuals rose by a sharp 352,000 in July, 249,000 of those individuals were temporarily laid off. Layoffs related to Hurricane Beryl may have partially contributed to these temporary layoffs. Despite the hurricane's heavy emotional toll, it likely did not have much impact on the broader labor market data in July. We've literally added jobs every month. And as you could just see in that data, we are at the highest labor participation force since 2001. But according to you, millions of people are losing their jobs. Can you please give me a source?